Many individuals find it tough to sell, not because they lack the ability, but due to a lack of belief. Myron Golden frequently states that selling isn't about pressuring people to buy, it's about helping them recognize the value. Yet, many hold themselves back because they perceive selling as manipulation. The reality is that selling is about serving. It's about addressing a problem, providing a solution, and creating a transformation. The Bible advises us in Romans 12 verse 2 to not conform to this world, but to be transformed by renewing our minds. If you view selling negatively, you will resist it. But when you change your mindset and understand that selling is about giving, everything shifts. Jesus was the greatest communicator and seller, not of products but of the kingdom. He used stories because he knew people are drawn to transformation, not just information. Fear of rejection holds many back from selling, but 2 Timothy 1 verse 7 states that God has not given us a spirit of fear but of power, love, and a sound mind. When you understand the worth of what you offer, rejection won't deter you. Myron Golden teaches that when people reject, they're not rejecting you. They're rejecting how you convey your value. Faith without action is dead. Peter didn't just believe he could walk on water, he acted. Selling is taking that leap of faith. If you believe your product, service, or message can change lives, why wouldn't you share it? Selling isn't solely about profits, it's about impact. When you align with God's teachings and take action, you'll not only sell more but also serve, bless, and receive more. Selling isn't just a skill, it's a way of thinking. Many struggle with selling, not due to lack of ability but due to limiting beliefs. Myron Golden often explains that before any success can manifest physically, a mental transformation needs to take place. How people view sales significantly impacts their performance. According to Romans 12 verse 2, success in all areas, including selling, requires a change in thought. If someone views selling as manipulative, they will naturally resist it. If they see it as taking money from others, they will struggle to make a sale. However, when they realize that selling is serving and see it as a means to provide solutions, meet needs, and create transformations, they approach it confidently. Most people are conditioned from a young age to avoid rejection, seek approval, and play it safe. This mindset carries over into business and selling. They hesitate to offer their product or service for fear of being perceived as aggressive or sales-driven. They back away at objections not because their offer lacks value, but because their mindset tells them rejection is personal. However, rejection isn't a measure of their worth. It simply indicates that the value wasn't communicated effectively. Myron Golden explains that money follows value. If someone believes their product or service is valuable, they will sell it with certainty. But if they doubt its worth, their hesitation will be visible, and potential customers will pick up on that uncertainty. People do not purchase based on logic alone, they buy based on belief. If the seller doesn't fully believe in the value of what they offer, why would the buyer? This is why mindset is fundamental to successful selling. The Bible teaches a powerful principle in Proverbs 23 verse 7, stating that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. If someone thinks they're bad at selling, they will behave accordingly. They believe they are unlikable, and others will mirror that sentiment, leading to negative responses. However, if they change their thinking and view selling as a means of blessing others, their method will shift. They'll become more assured, more convincing, and more effective. Faith is another essential component of the selling mindset. Many aim for success but don't genuinely believe it's achievable for them. They operate with a scarcity mentality, fearing that opportunities are limited and success is meant for others. However, Mark 9 verse 23 reassures us that all things are possible for those who believe. Selling isn't just about techniques. It's about having faith that your offer can genuinely help others and trusting in your ability to deliver that value. Another common mental roadblock is the fear of charging what something is truly worth. Many undervalue their products, services, or skills because they doubt that people will pay for them. They assume that buyers are only seeking the cheapest options rather than recognizing that people are willing to pay for perceived value. If a seller doesn't believe in their worth, they will attract customers who also fail to see the value. Yet, once they change their mindset and accept that they are offering transformations, they will confidently charge what their product is worth. Jesus never apologized for the value he provided. When he multiplied the loaves and fishes, he didn't doubt, he showed abundance. He illustrated that when something has true value, people will invest in it. The same principle applies to selling. The shift from scarcity to abundance, from doubt to confidence, and from hesitation to boldness begins in the mind. Sales results are merely reflections of this inner transformation. Individuals struggle to sell because they do not fully believe in the value of what they offer. Myron Golden emphasizes that people don't buy based on price but on perceived value. This means that if someone isn't selling well, the issue usually isn't with the product or service. It lies in their belief in its value. Many hesitate to sell because they wonder if it's good enough or if others will recognize its worth. These doubts create frustration and hesitation that negate sales. Confidence in selling doesn't stem from having the perfect pitch or the best marketing strategy. It comes from conviction. When someone genuinely believes their offer can assist others, they don't feel like they are selling. They feel like they are serving. Jesus showcased this principle in Luke 6 verse 38, stating that if you give, it will be given to you, pressed down and overflowing. This verse reflects more than just monetary giving. It's about providing value. When people prioritize giving more value over simply making a sale, they naturally draw in more customers. The challenge arises when individuals fail to recognize their value and subsequently struggle to communicate it to others. Myron Golden explains that value isn't determined by the seller but by the buyer. A glass of water may seem worthless to someone in a restaurant but is invaluable to someone stranded in the desert. The issue isn't that people don't want to buy. It's that sellers fail to communicate the value in a way that connects with the buyer's needs. This is where storytelling becomes vital in sales. Jesus didn't merely present facts. He communicated through parables because he understood that people buy into transformations rather than just information. When sellers become adept at communicating how their offer changes lives, they stop feeling like they are trying to convince others and start feeling like they are inviting them to something better. Another hurdle is that many feel guilty about charging for their offerings. They think making money is selfish or that asking for payment takes from others. Yet, the Bible clearly states in 1 Timothy 5 verse 18 that the worker deserves their pay. Value should always involve an exchange. If someone has a solution that benefits others, they are obligated to share it, which includes charging what it's worth. A lack of belief in your value leads to discounting, underpricing, and apologizing for making offers. But when someone grasps the transformation they provide, they stop making excuses for their prices and begin to own their worth. People don't merely buy what you do, they buy why you do it. When a seller is passionate about their product or service, their enthusiasm transfers to the buyer. Myron Golden teaches that selling is simply transferring belief. If the seller believes in the value, the buyer will too. If the seller is uncertain, the buyer will sense that hesitation. The moment someone transitions from "I'm trying to sell" to "I'm offering something that can change lives," everything transforms. They stop chasing customers and begin attracting them. They cease fearing objections and start addressing them confidently. Selling becomes natural when the belief in the value is unwavering. Fear of rejection is one of the strongest barriers preventing people from selling. Many shy away from sales due to the fear of hearing no. This fear arises from the belief that rejection is personal and reflects one's worth or signifies failure. However, Myron Golden teaches that rejection is often not about the individual, but about how the offer is presented or the timing of it. Rejection does not indicate your value. It's simply part of the process of serving people and finding the right match for their needs. The Bible provides guidance in 2 Timothy 1 verse 7, indicating that God has not given us a spirit of fear but of power, love, and a sound mind. This is a vital truth for anyone in sales. Fear does not come from God. It's the enemy's tool to immobilize us, making us doubt our abilities and preventing us from seizing the opportunities God has in store. Fear of rejection may hinder someone from making an offer at all, but recognizing that every no brings you closer to a yes is crucial. Rejection in sales is a typical part of the journey. It often signifies that you are actively putting yourself forward to help others. When someone turns down your offer, it does not mean they are rejecting you personally. It simply indicates that your solution might not fit their needs at that moment, or they may not be ready for a change. Myron Golden encourages reframing rejection, viewing it not as failure but as feedback, a learning opportunity to improve, gain a better understanding of your audience, and clarify the value you provide. The fear of rejection often stems from a lack of confidence in what you are offering. If you don't believe in the worth of your product or service, rejection will hurt. But if you truly believe that what you sell can make a positive difference, rejection will not feel like a personal attack. You will see it as a small step in the larger journey that ultimately leads to a sale. The fear of hearing no can only hinder you if you let it. Once you understand that rejection is merely part of the process, you will embrace it, learn from it, and move forward with renewed determination. Furthermore, rejection can arise from fear of judgment. Many individuals worry that people will view them as pushy or self-centered if they continue making offers. This fear hinders consistency in their efforts. However, when you realize that sales aren't about you but about providing solutions to those who truly need them, this fear diminishes. Selling shifts from a focus on personal gain to a mission of serving others. The Bible reassures us in Matthew 7 verse 7, stating that if you ask, you will receive, if you seek, you will find, and if you knock, the door will open for you. This verse highlights the importance of persistence. When you ask, seek, and knock, you are likely to find the right people who need what you offer. Rejection is simply a part of the process of identifying those individuals. Ultimately, overcoming the fear of rejection is rooted in a deep belief in your purpose and the value you provide. If you believe that what you offer can transform lives, you will not fear rejection. Instead, you will approach it with courage, knowing that rejection does not define you. It refines you. Every no brings you closer to a yes that aligns with your mission. When you overcome the fear of rejection, you unlock the ability to consistently serve others and achieve success in sales. Selling goes beyond transactions. It involves grasping and applying kingdom principles. Many struggle with selling because they fail to recognize that selling is essentially serving. Myron Golden teaches that when done correctly, sales align with biblical principles of stewardship and value exchange. The ability to sell well isn't just a business skill. It represents a spiritual principle reflecting how God designed the world to function. One powerful kingdom principle relating to selling is found in Luke 6 verse 38, which states that if you give, it will be given to you. This verse teaches that increase comes through giving. In sales, providing more value results in receiving more in return. Unfortunately, many individuals don't view sales as a form of giving. They perceive it as a form of taking. This mindset traps them, causing hesitation as they view selling as extracting money from people. However, when done with sincerity, selling is about providing solutions, transformations, and support. Jesus was the ultimate communicator and persuader ever. He didn't just share data, he shared transformation. When he spoke in parables, he wasn't simply narrating tales. He was selling the kingdom of God, illustrating why following him was the wisest choice. He didn't compel people to believe. Instead, he helped them understand the value of what he was offering. That's precisely what selling is, assisting people in recognizing the value of something that can alter their lives profoundly. Another kingdom principle relevant to selling is the law of sowing and reaping. 2 Corinthians 9 verse 6 explains that whoever sows sparingly will reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will reap generously. Selling is a way of sowing. When you offer a product, service, or idea, you plant a seed. Some will agree to buy, while others will decline, but the more seeds you plant, the larger your harvest will be. Many individuals find it hard to sell because they fear putting themselves out there. They desire a harvest without planting enough seeds. However, the kingdom of God functions differently. Increase comes to those willing to provide consistent value and trust that the right individuals will recognize it. Another reason many struggle to sell is that they fail to comprehend the power of exchange. Throughout the Bible, every blessing resulted from an exchange. When God wanted to bless Abraham, he first asked him to leave his homeland and trust him. When Jesus performed miracles, he often required people to take a step of faith, whether it meant picking up their mat, stretching out their hand, or casting their nets into water. This illustrates that receiving always necessitates action. Sales follows that exact flow. When someone invests in a product or service, they are swapping something of lesser value, money, for greater value, a solution or transformation. Many hesitate to sell, believing that requesting money is wrong, but 1 Timothy 5 verse 18 reminds us that a worker deserves their pay. When you provide value, you deserve compensation. Myron Golden teaches that if you truly believe in the transformation your offer delivers, you have a moral responsibility to sell it. Selling isn't about convincing people. It's about serving individuals by providing something that will enhance their lives. When you align sales with kingdom principles, you no longer feel hesitant or guilty about making offers. You come to realize that selling is an opportunity to bless others, solve problems, and create value. When executed correctly, selling is not manipulation. People don't buy products or services, they buy transformation. One significant reason many struggle to sell is that they overly focus on what they are selling rather than why it's important. Myron Golden teaches that selling is not about pushing an item. It's about demonstrating the differences it will make in people's lives. If people fail to see the benefit, they won't buy, no matter how excellent the product is. Jesus excelled as a communicator because he provided more than information. He painted a vision. When he shared parables, he was illustrating the transformative journey of following him, leading to eternal life, freedom, and abundance. Similarly, successful selling isn't merely relaying features. It's assisting others in envisioning the possibilities that arise from saying yes. Most struggling sellers discuss what they do instead of what it will do for the customer. Consider two people selling a water filter. The first says the filter removes 99% of contaminants, while the second asserts that the filter guarantees your family consumes the purest, healthiest water, ensuring peace of mind and better health. The latter is more persuasive because it sells the outcome rather than the object. Proverbs 29 verse 18 highlights that where there is no vision, the people perish. This principle also applies to sales. If a prospective buyer cannot visualize how their life improves post-purchase, they will not act. Many individuals struggle to sell because they assume customers will independently draw their insights. However, customers do not automatically perceive value. You must create a clear picture for them. Another reason sales struggles arise is that sellers fail to connect emotionally with buyers. People make purchasing decisions based on emotions and then rationalize them logically. Myron Golden often says that facts inform, but stories sell. This is why Jesus communicated through stories. He understood that people remember stories more than statistics. Sharing testimonials, real-life examples, and emotional transformations allows sellers to connect deeply with others. Consider the story of the woman with the issue of blood, Mark 5 verses 25 to 34. She wasn't only seeking healing, she sought liberation from years of suffering. When Jesus healed her, he didn't merely say she was healed. He stated that her faith made her whole, addressing the transformation beyond the physical remedy. Great selling is about revealing the transformations people desire and guiding them to pursue them. When sellers shift from pushing products to visualizing transformation, they stop struggling to sell. Additionally, effective communication is vital in sales. People buy based on certainty. If they detect uncertainty in the seller's voice, they hesitate. However, when sellers express confidence and conviction, they transmit that assurance to buyers. Myron Golden teaches that selling involves transferring certainty. The more assured you are about your offer changing lives, the more others will believe it too. The Bible reminds us in Matthew 12 verse 34 that what fills your heart will come out in your speech. If a seller firmly believes in what they offer, it will be evident in their words, tone, and body language. Conversely, if they are uncertain, that insecurity will be sensed by potential buyers. Successful selling requires unwavering faith in the transformation being proposed. When people concentrate on why instead of merely what, everything transforms, becoming easier. Rather than trying to persuade, they simply help the buyer to visualize the benefits. When buyers clearly see the value, they don't need convincing, they want to buy. Many struggle with selling due to inconsistent efforts. Myron Golden teaches that sales success isn't anchored in one-time actions, but in forming consistent habits that yield predictable results. The challenge arises when most people approach sales as an event rather than a continual process. They become excited about making offers, but upon not seeing immediate results, they stop or doubt themselves, spiraling into cycles of enthusiasm and discouragement instead of maintaining steady forward momentum. The Bible stresses the importance of consistency in Galatians 6 verse 9, saying we shouldn't tire in doing good, as in due time, we will harvest if we don't lose heart. Sales work similarly to planting seeds. Some seeds require more time to grow than others, but the harvest comes to those who keep planting. However, many give up before witnessing results. They anticipate immediate success, and when it doesn't materialize, they conclude that they're ineffective at selling or that their product lacks value. Yet the truth is that those who excel in sales are the ones who remain in the game long enough to see results. Myron Golden often asserts that people fail in sales due to being too emotionally attached to outcomes instead of committed to the process. If someone only feels energized by hearing yes, but feels defeated upon hearing no, they will struggle. The key to success lies in prioritizing activity over results. A farmer doesn't dig up seeds daily to check on their growth. He trusts the process and keeps watering them. Sales functions the same way. Every offer, conversation, and interaction is a seed planted. Some will sprout immediately, while others take time. Inconsistency can also result from individuals allowing fear, doubt, and rejection to hinder their progress. They start with confidence but lose momentum after facing a few objections. James 1 verse 8 warns of a double-minded individual being unstable in all their ways. When people vacillate between belief and doubt, between action and hesitation, they become unstable, leading to inconsistent actions and suffering results. Success in sales requires steadfastness, resilience, and dedication to daily engagement, making offers and trusting that the right people will say yes at the right time. Many also falter because they wait until they feel motivated to sell. However, motivation is unreliable. Discipline is crucial for success. The most accomplished salespeople don't wait until they feel like selling. They sell regardless of their feelings. They know that rewards stem from consistent daily efforts. Proverbs 10 verse 4 notes that lazy hands lead to poverty, while diligent hands lead to wealth. In other words, sales success belongs to those who engage in the process even when they lack motivation. Another mistake individuals make is to slow down after experiencing some success. They secure a few sales, become comfortable, and then ease off. But sales rely on momentum. If you cease, you lose rhythm. It's like pushing a heavy wheel. The hardest part is getting it moving, but once it's rolling, it requires significantly less effort to maintain its speed. That's why the most successful salespeople never stop making offers, even in times of success. They recognize that consistency compounds over time. The most significant breakthrough occurs when someone transitions their perception of selling from an occasional task to a daily practice. Selling isn't a one-time action. It's a habit revolving around building relationships, making offers, refining skills, and maintaining commitment through ups and downs. When consistency becomes a lifestyle, sales success becomes inevitable.